What is the worst group project experience you've ever had? I know a lot of us have had bad group project experiences before, but this specific one I had in college, along with the teacher who graded the group project, I hate to say still makes me mad to this day. I still think about this every now and then. So I was a student at KU majoring in film, and about 2 years in, I was told I had to declare a minor. Now, I didn't know this was a thing I had to do. I had always been interested in film. I was just locked in film. I had no interest in any other subject. So I had no idea I had to declare a minor. So I was looking at minors to pick from. That's gonna sound really bad out of context. So I was looking at minors. There's really no good way to phrase that, is there? So I was looking at the selection, and I decided to go with journalism. I already had an interest in documentary films. I had some friends who were moving into a journalism path. I decided that was probably the best subject matter to pick. I'm not gonna keep saying minors. And once I selected journalism, I had to select journalism classes. And when I was looking through journalism classes to pick through, I decided to land on sports media as one of them. I don't really care about sports at all. I'm not like one of those people who thinks they're smarter than others for not watching sports. I'm not like one of those Redditor assholes who says sports ball, but I just don't care about sports. Really, the only reason I picked this class was I had a friend who was in sports journalism at the time, like as a career, and so I was already seeing some friends do well in this field. It would just help me get a job in the journalism area of work if I ever landed in that area of work. Smart decisions. That's gonna be the only time in this entire story where I made like a good idea, a good decision. Not really, because I'm not into sports journalism, so no, it was actually pretty pointless to get in this class. This entire class actually ended up being completely useless, so that's gonna make the story even more annoying to retell. So I enrolled in sports media, and most of the semester of this class actually went relatively smoothly. It did have mandatory attendance. Now, if you've never been to college, if you haven't gone to college yet, here's a quick tip. If a class has mandatory attendance, that class is f***ing useless, okay? Or you don't need to go to the physical classes to succeed in that class. You can probably get all the information you need off Canvas or whatever website you guys use. You probably do not need to be in that class at all if it's mandatory attendance. If a class does not have mandatory attendance, you need to be in that class every single day or you are going to fail. So that is just a rule of thumb when it comes to attendance. Now, this class, of course, did have mandatory attendance, and that means that it was super easy. All of our points came from little short quizzes at the beginning of every class. That was our attendance. The way we checked into the class was a pop quiz. There were a few group discussions for points, and then most of our points came from exams. Now, this was the fall semester of 2024, so ChatGPT was relatively new, and at this point, most teachers knew how to spot ChatGPT, stop their students from using chat. You know, they were prepared. This professor and his teacher's assistant, who was also like an old guy, the same age as him, they like did not even try to stop ChatGPT or cheating in general. So for these exams, it would all be on our computer. There was no lockdown browser. The professors didn't, I'm gonna say it was a professor and a teacher's assistant. If I say professors plural, that's what I'm talking about. The professors wouldn't look at our screens. This is a giant attendance hall, over 100 students, and the professors would just sit in their desks at the front of the room. All the students would be on their computers taking the exams, and you would look around and everyone is just copying the questions on the exams into ChatGPT, and everyone's just cheating. You look around and everyone around you is cheating, and the professors are just sitting there doing nothing. I mean, I didn't use ChatGPT. Obviously, I'm a good boy and I would never do that. I would never do that, so don't even ask. So that should give you an idea of how lax the grading was in this semester. I think I was at an A by the time the semester was almost over. And then the group project arrived. So for the group project, we would be put in random groups and we would be given a random sports media topic. So I got put in a random group, and our topic was, the full name of our topic was NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament and Media Evolution and Relevance. So as someone who doesn't care about sports at all, And as someone who was especially socially reclusive at this time, I had zero interest in being in a group project about sports until I saw that video was an option for the group project. Instead of a slide presentation, you could give a video presentation. You could just, make a video. Now, like I said, I was a film student at KU, so I had video editing experience. I knew that editing a video like this would be super easy for me, and most people would not be making videos because videos are just inherently harder than PowerPoint presentations. So I decided to pitch an idea to my group project, to my group. I pitched the idea to my group that they would individually do their own research and writing for their parts of the speech, for their parts of the presentation. I would film them speaking, and then I would edit the whole video. So to put this in slide presentation terms, imagine you have a group project of 5 people, and 4 people are each doing their individual research and writing for their parts of the presentation. And then you have one person who's making all the slides and making the entire presentation. That's basically what I would be doing, but with a video. So I'm basically making a deal, hey, you guys each do a little bit of work and I'll do the actual bulk of the work making the presentation, just because it'll be easier for me, and I do not want to research and write about basketball at all. So everyone wins. And so they all agreed to the idea, and we decided that's how we would do it. So after a few weeks, after they had researched and written their parts, which was not true, I would come to find out. So after a few weeks, we met up at the basketball court at KU for our filming. And when we got there, I immediately noticed something was a little bit off. So I noticed that one of the 4 speakers, we'll call him Mike from now on, Mike is handing the other 3 speakers scripts. And the other 3 speakers seem to be like reading them and memorizing them for the first time, like they didn't write anything. Now, at this point, this is like early December, late November, we're getting into major finals territory. I have a ton of other finals. I'm pretty checked out on this assignment. I was checked out to begin with, but I'm like super checked out now. And I was just like, this isn't my part of the project. It's fine. I just gotta edit the video. Do not enter any group project with this mentality. You will end up getting screwed. No matter how little of a group project you want to do, and no matter how much work you end up with, always make sure that your team members are actually doing their work. Because again, it is a group project. Now, you're gonna have to excuse me because again, I was super checked out. I wasn't really doing well mentally. I was already not very happy about having to take up a journalism minor because I didn't care about journalism. I was taking more journalism classes than film classes at this point, and the current film classes I was taking, I was not enjoying at all. So I was not really enjoying school at the moment. I especially was not enjoying this class. And at the end of the day, the professors had been so lax. I was like, oh, there's no way, we're not gonna do good on this project. We have a video that's already more work than a slide presentation. We'll be fine no matter what problems arise. So this speaker, Mike, he's handing out the scripts, and they start reading off the script, and you can tell they were written by Mike because Mike was a giant sports fan and he was very excited about this topic. And you can see that excitement in our script. He got very carried away naming specific athletes, specific games and their scores, audience counts. The whole presentation was pretty much just vomiting numbers and stats at you. It was pretty much just number gibberish for 10 minutes. So I recently actually went back. I found the original document for the script that they used for this video. And I looked through, I think, version history. I looked through version history to see which team members wrote what. And Mike wrote this entire script, dude. It was so it was written on a slide presentation, so they're reading it like note cards. There were 16 slides, and he wrote every single one, and one other team member touched up their 2 cards to give you an idea of how much he wrote. But, I didn't really care. I didn't really care at all, which, Gotta take blame for that. I was just there to film the video and get it edited because I wanted this over as fast as humanly possible. So I just filmed them speaking. And we also had a fun idea where whenever one speaker was done speaking, they would have a basketball and they'd throw it off screen. And then the next speaker would catch it and they would carry on with their speech. What a fun and harmless idea for a transition. I'm sure that will not come back to bite me in the ass in the future. So we wrapped up filming and they left me with the rest of the work to get the video done. Now I had several other video and production assignments, so this wasn't exactly top of my priority list, but I eventually got around to it. And it was a much harder edit than I was originally assuming because there were so many athletes and games listed that I had to look up specific footage for and get the relevant footage and put it over them talking about it. And by the time we were done, this video was like over 10 minutes long. And I think the length requirement, I think like it could only be 3.5 minutes, I think. Maybe it was 5.5, but it was way over time. It was way over time. Like this was supposed to be like an easy like couple hour edit. And I think this probably took me like 8 hours total to get all the footage. And we ended up cutting several major parts and several athletes that he thought we needed to name. We ended up cutting a lot to get it down to slightly over the time limit. Now, did this video turn out perfect after all of that editing? No. It was very clear that 3 of the 4 team members did not write it, and they did not have time to memorize their lines, so it's very clear that 3 of the people talking are just reading off the camera like this, like they're talking like this because the script is literally being held up so they can read it while they're speaking. Upon editing the video, I realized that we didn't really have a thesis statement, which is kind of important in any writing at all. So yeah, kind of missing that. Kind of missing that. So yeah, kind of important thing to have that we didn't really have at all. It was basically just talking about the rise of women's basketball, highlighting some specific athletes and games without like a clear idea or message, just kind of yapping stats at you in like a timeline order, kind of, not really, because we went around years like crazy. But let me state again, this class had been so easy and these professors had been half-assing so hard that I was just like, it'll be fine. It'll be okay. This is an easy, just because we put in the work to make a video, this will be like an easy A or B. It'll be fine. That was in the back of my head. Anytime I had doubts, anytime a problem came out, I was just like, it'll be easy. This is such a nothing class. It's all gonna turn out fine. I'll get a good grade. Who cares? And I can move on. Also, this was, again, a sports media journalism class. This was not even a video class. So this did not need to be up to regular film class video editing standards. That was also in my head. Anytime I had doubts, hey, this video is really bad. It's fine. The professors won't care. It's not a video class, so you'll be okay. You'll get a good grade. That was just in my head, just feeding me anytime I had doubts about this horrible video. So despite how much longer it took to edit, I got the video done and we turned it in like 5 days early. I think it was due Friday, we turned it in Monday. So I turned in that video and I moved on to other assignments. And the following week, I'm in my office doing my homework and I get a text from one of our group project team members and my jaw drops. It just says, "We got a D on the project." I'm shocked because again, just how this class was going. These guys were such lax graders too. Did I mention that? They were just lax graders in general. If you answered a question on a pop quiz, like kind of like halfway right, they would give you the full points. These guys were super chill. So a D on this video project, I knew it was, awful, but like a D? There must be something up. Like I said, I had an A the entire semester. The grade on this group project dropped me to a C. And I think some of my group members were already struggling. I think they got dropped to like D's, and I think at least one got dropped to an F from the bad grade on this video. So I'm just in complete shock. I go on Canvas and I look at the grades and my shock immediately turns to boiling rage. So I'm looking through the professor's notes on the project and he had almost nothing to say about the writing or the actual presenting itself. Almost all of his complaints were about the video. and the editing and the footage I used. He was basically putting all the blame on me as the video editor, as the person who put the video together. So I was actually able to find the original class page on Canvas with the grade. So I'm now going to read all of the notes he had on the project. So I'm gonna be rereading these for like the first time. And I'm already getting mad. Okay, so the presentation was basically broken up into different criteria, basically different aspects of it. And each aspect was graded from unacceptable to average to full marks. So he would give us a grade on the specific criteria, and then he would give us a little note justifying his decision. So I'm gonna read these off now. Let me just say the absolute snarkiness in how he wrote these notes. He is such a dick in these notes. Again, super lax grader, had no problems with this professor at all throughout the entire semester. And then he just goes off on my project like I've never seen him before. All right, first criteria is clearly stated topic and thesis statement. Again, we don't really have one, so he's pretty justified in only giving us average on this. So he gave us average, and he said, the obvious answer here is no. Your thesis statement was not clearly stated. The last words of this presentation were, women's basketball is in good hands. That is the only thesis statement I could find. Yes, totally right, sir. Yeah, 100%. This is where I get mad. Next criteria, thesis statement supported by facts. He gave us average, and his comment, is women's NCAA basketball in good hands? Yes, but the facts you presented were minimized by the fact that you presented them as part of a highlight video. There was too much video and hype music, which became a distraction from understanding the facts. That is genuinely how he wrote this. I'm gonna paste this up on the screen so you can see how he wrote this. Spelling and grammar errors and all. Journalism professor, by the way, dude. Have you ever taken a journalism class? I'm sorry. I'm getting so angry now. Have you ever taken a journalism class before? Dude, have you ever hated English classes and like getting grammar and spelling errors, which like I've always been really good in English. I've never really had an issue with that. Dude, journalism classes are like, at least writing journalism classes are like nightmare mode for writing. And the fact that he's just spewing over my work with all of these spelling and grammar errors, what are you doing? I'm already getting so mad. This is what I was talking about when I said this story still made me mad. This professor is why. So, as you can see, and you'll continue to see, his main problem with the video is that it felt too much like a hype video, like a hype highlights intro, basically, because of the supporting footage and the music, which he thought were distracting, apparently. Okay, I'm getting a little heated. So first thing, video. If a speaker in a video is talking about a specific basketball game, should I not put footage of that basketball game over it so that the audience can see what he's talking about while he's talking about it? Like, that's how you edit a video. Now, of course, there was a lot of game footage because there were so many games listed and so much footage I had to put in, but that's more on the writing of the presentation, not on me as the editor who has to put an image over what is being said. He's basically taking all the issues from the writing and the presentation itself and just putting it onto me as the video editor. And so all my group members are looking at this, and every single issue being listed is being put on me as the editor, as the person who did all the work. Second off, music. He said that we had hype music in the video. Now I want you to take a second and think about sports hype music, like the kind of music that would be on like right before a game, something that gets you pumped up. You know, you're getting super excited for this game to start. Think about that in your head. Think of sports hype music in your head right now. Okay, you got it? You got it locked in? All right, I'm now gonna play you a little bit of the music I had in the video. Are you ready? Here it is. It was main menu music from a PlayStation 1 basketball video game. Sorry, did you get blown away from the hype? Did that blow you away from the screen because you were so pumped? Are you throwing on a basketball game right now because you're so hyped? I'm so angry. Now, I've already said this, but let me make this very clear. I don't care about sports. And I was not making a sports hype video. I was simply adding relevant footage and matching music over what was being said in the presentation. Now, this professor, as a sports media journalist, he does care about sports. And so what I think was happening was he was projecting his love of sports onto the video and perceiving it as a hype video, even though it's not. Now, what he should have done is put his grievances about it towards the writing, because in the credits of the video, I list myself as the editor. I don't list myself as a writer or researcher. He should have put his problems towards the writing, but he instead continued to put everything on me as the video editor. So when you look in the grade, it's all listed that I'm the problem. But don't worry, it gets even more annoying than that. Remember what I said about how we had basketballs being thrown around to transition between speakers? Surely he didn't have a problem with that. The next category is information that adds to the wealth of human knowledge, which he gave us average points on. Comment. Again, the video used became a distraction to the information you were providing. Why didn't you use more text? Why didn't you ask if your use of so much video would be in the best interest of your presentation? Why didn't you ask if your idea of on-screen talent passing a basketball back and forth would be a distraction in this presentation, or a negative in your effort to add to the wealth of human knowledge connected to this topic? I'm just going to continue reading the rest of his critiques. The next category was interesting/engaging presentation. He gave us average points, and his comment. I found this presentation interesting, but I did not find it engaging. I found your use of too much video distracting, and it hampered the impact of your verbal presentation. There was too much information connected to the WNBA. This was supposed to be a presentation on NCAA women's basketball. It should not have included votes for Rookie of the Year or assists or points per game in the WNBA. Now, that is completely fair. Like I said, Mike was writing way too much about just crap that didn't matter. I do think it's stupid not to mention the WNBA because most of the biggest NCAA basketball members, like the ones that even like the average person knows, had moved on to the WNBA. So obviously you would mention it a little bit, well, whatever. But yes, I do agree with that. Oh, I'm not done reading this comment. Let me finish. Seeing students in the rec center passing the ball back and forth did not help engage the viewer. Again, why not use text to help? Dude, what was his problem? It was literally like a what the is his problem? It was literally 2 seconds max after each presenter was done talking to move the basketball over to the next presenter. It was literally like no longer than your average transition would be in like a Google Slides. What was his deal about the basketballs, dude? And don't use text to help, probably because it's a video and on a slide. No, I'm really mad. Why not use text to help? He said that twice. What's more distracting? Having footage of a basketball game over someone talking about a basketball game, or having text over someone talking about a basketball game? What's more distracting, watching footage while hearing someone talk, or trying to read text while someone's talking? Oh my God, I'm so mad. The next category, 3 valid sources of information, full marks. No comment, nothing nice to say. Next category, professional video presentation. Examples, clear audio, appealing video, etc. He gave us a little over half points. And his comment, I think I'm being generous here. I considered this video presentation a highlight reel. There was too much highlight video. Does anyone in this group remember me saying that this class is not Sports Center? Apparently not my team members, man. And apparently not me because, I guess I edited the video. But, man, he really did not give a shit the entire semester. And then he locked in for that last grade. Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks for locking in right there. So, obviously, when I was done reading this at the time, I was fuming with anger. And, of course, with him having most of the problems be about the video, it put all of the blame on me. And so I dropped whatever assignment I was working on at that time. I went to the library to lock in even harder than I was already locked in at my office. And I spent a decent amount of time writing a document that was basically just responding to all of his critiques. And with how he wrote those comments and how he pinned everything on me, I basically just went off on him on this document. I'm gonna try to find it somewhere here. Here it is, I found it. Okay, I'm now gonna read out what I wrote as a response to his comments. This was basically just a hate-filled, rage-induced hate mail that I wrote in response to his critiques. Also, it needs to be said that, again, I wasn't really paying attention to the fact that one team member had pretty much written the entire thing. I only really fully realized that when I was looking back through these documents. At this time, I was basically just defending me and my entire team because he had just lambasted us and pinned the whole thing on me. So I just went off on him on here. So here's what I wrote. Professor, for our final video presentation, we chose to make a video with on-screen presenters, as it was an option according to your instructions. Upon reading your grading comments for the assignment, however, we had some questions, and would like to clear up any of your concerns. The critiques you provided often seem to be misaligned with the medium of video. I was basically just being an asshole back to him because I was so pissed. Below, I addressed many of your comments in detail. Quote, your thesis statement was not clearly stated. Now, again, I think, in my soul, I knew that we did not have a thesis statement, but I was just so angry, so I just kept writing. The thesis statement for our topic number 12, NCAA Women's Basketball Media Evolution and Relevance, is clearly stated in the first 15 seconds of the video. Quote, many tend to focus on the men's side of the game, yet in recent years, women's college basketball has begun to see more spotlight on their sport. But how did we get here? I don't think that's a thesis statement, dude, but go off. My next response is critique. Quoting him, yes, but the facts you presented were minimized by the fact that you presented them as part of a highlight video. My response, this is the first of many perplexing comments on the use of supportive B-roll in our video presentation. The idea that using supplemental footage somehow minimizes the facts we stated is bewildering, to say the least. The thought process behind including this footage was to keep viewers engaged throughout, as we believed only having footage of the presenter speaking would be ineffective and boring. We believe this enhances the facts we are presenting by showing the viewer relevant footage. His next critique. There was much too much video and hype music which became a distraction to understanding the facts. My response. Again, how is supporting video in any way a distraction from what is being said? This is the equivalent of saying that a slide presentation is distracting the viewer from the presenter speaking over it. Also, hype music is misleading. All of the music used in this video is menu music from a basketball video game. Menu music I was really being an asshole. Menu music is of course meant to blend into the background, so as to not distract the player from the menu's components. So it is objectively not meant to be hype music. His next critique. Again, the video used became a distraction to the information you were providing. Why didn't you use more text? My response. Once again, how is supportive video a distraction? It is simply meant to support and give an image to what is being said. When a speaker mentions a basketball game, you see the game on screen. When a speaker is talking about a player, you see that player on screen. It is in no way meant to be distracting. In fact, it's going for the opposite effect. We didn't use text on screen, as we chose to create a video, not a slide presentation. All of our information is being delivered vocally. If we had used text, it's questionable whether you would have found that distracting as well. His critique. Why didn't you ask if your use of so much video would be in the best interest of your presentation? My response. It's hard to deny that the video we made is much more engaging than if we had simply kept footage of us standing and talking at the camera. His next critique. Why didn't you ask if your idea of on-screen talent passing a basketball back and forth would be a distraction in this presentation, or a negative in your effort to add to the wealth of human knowledge connected to this topic? My response. This comment is the one I found the most utterly bizarre. The basketball passing was simply meant to be a transition between speakers and takes up a total of 10 seconds, parentheses, less than 3%, of the video. To say that it was distracting from the information being said is ludicrous. A slide presentation that you posted as an example in Canvas uses transitional animations. Are these not in the same way distracting from the information being said in it? You can't really argue with that, all right? Most of this is just me being an asshole. I don't think you can really argue with that. That one's, yeah, I cooked him on that one. His critique. I found this presentation interesting, but I did not find it engaging. I found your use of too much video distracting, and it hampered the impact of your verbal presentation. My response. Once again, how is supportive footage in any way distracting or hampering the impact of what is being said? You showed several videos in class that also had supportive footage over someone speaking. Did that also hamper the impact of what was being said in them? Such an asshole. Also, I had to do grammar and spell corrections for all of his critiques in my response, just as an extra FU. There was too much information connected to the WNBA. This was supposed to be a presentation on NCAA women's basketball. It should not have included votes for Rookie of the Year or assists or points in the game in the WNBA. My response. This is also an odd complaint. With our I seem to be just completely bewildered by his critiques in my response. This is also an odd complaint. With our section discussing the most popular players recently in women's college basketball, it would be questionable not to mention the WNBA. With 2 of the 3 mentioned having already moved into the WNBA, and the third one being the first overall pick, the exclusion of the WNBA would be strange. Which isn't even what he's having a problem with. He's having a problem with the amount of just bullshit we talked about the WNBA, the stats, all the numbers. That's what he has a problem with. I'm just being an asshole. Knowing these players' basketball stats is all okay. I guess I did come back on it. Knowing these players' basketball stats is also important in understanding what makes them so popular and influential. You actually need us to rant numbers and stats at you for 10 minutes. Portions discuss, oh wow, I did another asshole thing. Portions discussing the WNBA only take up 56 seconds, less than 17% of the video. Man, I was getting really down to the numbers in these responses. His next critique. Seeing students in the rec center passing the ball back and forth did not help engage the viewer. Again, why not use text to help? My response. Again, these were simply meant to be transitions between speakers and make up a very small percentage of the video. I sincerely hope you didn't dock points for transitional animations in other students' slide presentations. Once again, this is a video, not a slide presentation. We chose not to have text on screen as it does not fit the medium. And my final conclusion, Professor, judging from your several comments about the use of video, the lack of text on screen, and the fact that you only posted slide presentations as examples, it is very clear that you exclusively wanted a slide presentation. It leads us to ask why you allowed video with on-screen presenters as an option when your repeated critiques about our use of supported footage, music, and transitions seem to overlook the intent and functionality of the medium of video. I hope this response not only justifies our decisions, but also persuades you to reconsider our grade. Thank you. I know that was very funny. As much as I wanted to send that to him, I did not send it to him. I sent it to my friend who decided to rewrite it herself because she's an angel. She spent her lunch break at work rewriting that to be a little bit friendlier and a little bit less combative. God bless her. And we ended up sending a very corporate, toned down, no asshole at all version of what I just read. And after he read that, he raised the grade by 5 points, which was basically nothing. I think it went from a D to a C minus. And yeah, that was it. I was just completely checked out at that point. I wanted to report him to a grade appeal committee, which you can do if you feel like you've gotten an unfair grade, if you have a good case for it, which I felt like I had a good case for it. Looking back on it, probably didn't have a very good case. They probably would have ended up agreeing with him. But yeah, I was just so checked out. I just gave up at that point. So yeah, that was the worst, both the worst group project I've ever had and probably the worst professor I've ever had. Because what the fuck was his problem, dude? Again, I cannot state this enough. Super lax. Did not care, did not check for cheating, half-assed it so much, and yet he just went completely off on this final presentation and destroyed our grades. And I really can't even begin to describe the rage I felt in the moment. Especially because this was just like, you know, again, I only cared about film. I only cared about film classes. So the fact that this guy, who clearly did not give a shit about teaching students, the fact that he was so harsh on my video in a class that is not about editing video, I was like, who are you? I was like, Cell. I was like, how dare you?
How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you talk to me like that about my video? Oh my God, I was so angry, as you could see. So like I said, I actually found the original script to this presentation, and to give you an idea of how checked out I was on this assignment and how confident I was that this assignment would be graded well, I listened to Mike, the guy who wrote the entire script, read this introduction out loud, and no alarm bells were ringing. Here is the genuine, real intro. We ended up cutting pretty much the entirety of this for time, but this was the actual intro to the video. This is college writing, by the way. This is a college student writing this. Here we go. Every month is known for something. January marks the start of the new year. April means let go of the winter coats as the weather starts to warm up. June and July are for people to go out and enjoy a nice ice cream sundae as they hurry to finish it before it melts. August signifies to let go of your pillows and blankets and to pick up those pencils and notebooks. October signals the start of the basketball season, and December is for family gatherings as Christmas rolls around. But what does March have? Well, sorry, he gave me editing notes, I'm not reading them. As fans flock to fill in their brackets for the tournament that keeps everyone on their feet, many tend to focus on the men's side of the game. Yet in recent years, women's college basketball has begun to see more spotlight on their sport. But how did we get here? We ended up cutting all that until as fans flocked to fill in their brackets. So that's how bad the writing was for this entire presentation. That is how checked out I was, that I was hearing writing like that, and I just didn't care. And that really gives you an idea how the professor was hearing writing and speaking like that, and still blamed it on me, blamed everything on me as the video editor. Let this whole thing serve as an example to always, no matter how checked out you are on a presentation, no matter how little you want to work on it, always make sure your teammates are doing their job on the group project. Let that be the main message of this video. I hope you liked my story. If you want to see more story time videos like this, I'm probably going to do a few more before I move into like more scripted video essay content. So if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, it really helps a small channel like me. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.